Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. Yana Kasperczak here, coming into you live from Ontario of Canada. As your certified performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach, it has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison that you find yourself in and build a life or a business or a career that you are obsessed with. Do you remember when you were a child, how excited you were for every single day because you knew that life was an adventure, that it was meant to be explored, that you were meant to be your true authentic self and live one day at a time, that you simply could not wait to wake up? And then your parents told you, shh, be quiet, I'm tired, let me go to sleep. Go back to sleep. Let me be, it's way too early. What, 5 in the morning? What, 6 in the morning? No, let's do a little bit later. Not so early, Yana. Let me sleep. And then they would tell you stories about letting your mommy sleep, that you would play quietly with toys while mommy or daddy sleep. This is how I was raised, through different stories. So, and today's story time with myself, Yana Kasperczak, I'll share a few different stories, and really my goal is to help you with today's topic, right? Today's topic is 3 hacks to manifestation and the terrifying truth about being authentically you, why hiding is actually scarier than being seen. Now, as a child, you've gotten into some things, you've gotten into some trouble with your parents, with some kind of authority figure, right? Which is your parents as an authority figure. And you learned to hide your true self. You learn to hide your true identity. And now that you are a mature adult, you're recognizing that through these tiny little seemingly unimportant events that made up your whole life, where you chose to hide your true self, where you chose to hide your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, and not tell the whole truth or not even share an experience with people, you start to recognize that you've lost yourself, that you've lost your identity, and perhaps at this point you don't even know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, this is where anxiety sets in, fear sets in, overwhelm, depression, stress. A lot of these negative emotions start to take over. But when you start working on yourself, when you start going down that rabbit hole of personal development and uncovering yourself, your true authentic self, in the midst of all of these hidden experiences that make up you, you see who you truly are. So I'll share a little story that some of you might have already heard in the Sacred Circle, but I thought it was a humorous story enough to share for the topic today, where I little by little stop showing up as myself for the fear of being judged, ridiculed, shamed, and because it felt like people will see who I am and judge me in a way that I wouldn't want them to judge, because all of us, we're social creatures, and social creatures, or as social creatures, we want and need the acceptance of others. But we don't necessarily want or need it from everyone. It's really just limited to a group of people that are the closest to us. And sometimes a group of people consists of 1, 2, 3, or just under 5 people. Whereas how we have been conditioned growing up, it really comes across as I need to be liked and accepted by everyone. So you find all the different ways of how you can fit in to the mold that has been given to you throughout your life. So my little cute little story is, I had a nickname growing up when I was back in Russia of Yana the monkey, because I was always climbing trees. This part you ladies didn't hear in a sacred circle, but I was also climbing roofs, some buildings I would climb as well. So it wasn't just trees. It kind of progressed from trees to buildings, but I won't get into the building part because it's not for the faint of heart. Things that the one thing that I remember was just walking on a 9-story building, walking at the edge. And because look at me, I'm so brave, right? Now thinking like, oh my God, no wonder my kids are locked in the house and they're not allowed to get out, right? Of all the things that we did, and we realized the potential dangers of those things. But not while we're doing it, but in retrospect, when we look back. So when I was really little, honestly, I don't remember how little I was. I must have been maybe like 5 or so years old. We kids were raised in a different way than our kids. I was running wild since I could walk. My kids were running in the house since they could walk, right? And yours probably too. So I would climb trees. I have never fallen out of tree, ever. I was really good. It's like monk. That's why the nickname monkey, that monkeys rarely ever fall out of trees. So with this story, I love cherries, and I still love cherries, maybe even more so since my experience. So this young cherry tree was growing, and it had very few cherries, but one of them was on the very tippy top. And I'm 5'1" now, so can you imagine how short I was when I was in like 5, maybe 6 years old? Because by 7 we were already at a different apartment, so that's why it must have been like 5 or 6 years old. So I would climb this little tree, having this belief that it was invincible, that I could do anything. And as I climbed this tree and I'm just about to get that cherry, that sweet reward, the tree snaps, and I instantly, you can't stop these things from happening. No matter how much of a superhero you think or believe you are, I certainly couldn't. So head first, forehead right into the concrete, and I just remember running and screaming and crying and running into our apartment with my mom there. Just remember everything kind of felt dark, probably because at this point I had a massive horn on my forehead. It was like a black horn with like some blood vessels, according to my mom, and my eye was bloodshot. So what do parents learn to do when they see their child in such a state and they themselves are scared? Is to knock this out of you so you don't do it again. So of course that's what my mom did, and you kind of like take a step back. It's like, well, why? So after that, I remember not climbing trees as much anymore, and feeling like I was going to be judged or ridiculed because there was other people who saw, and it becomes our programming. These seemingly unimportant little experiences, which some people would laugh about, or some people would critique or criticize, or label as, look at this stupid little girl, right? Things like that. We take all of those in, all those people, all these observers around us. We take all of that in unconsciously. And we make sense of it in the way that we can at the young age that we experience certain things, and it becomes our programming. So this experience, if it had a different reaction from the audience, if it had a different reaction from my mother, right? Because back then, parents didn't kiss their kids' boo-boos because they weren't taught to do those things. They didn't know that was even an option back then, right? Now, we as parents, we know that that's an option. And some choose to use that option while others don't. And whatever we believe is what we're going to apply into our bringing of our offsprings, because we believe this is the best option, the best choice. So now, what do you believe my 5-year-old self, what kind of programming, what kind of a conditioning do you think I could have received going through that experience that had taught me about what it's like to be my true authentic self, and what could potential repercussions of that option be? Right? Little by little, you, as I did, start to put those things, those ideas, those things that you want to do, that you want to try on this, they're kind of like a pro and con list. Without even doing that, it happens so quickly and rationally, yet irrationally in our minds, that before we make a choice, before we do something, we sometimes make a choice of not doing it because of the fear of what will happen when people see who I truly am, how I've lived my life, how I've experienced my life, how I've translated my life, what kind of stories I created in my mind, whether they were real or not. That's besides the point, because my stories are real. They're my stories. They're real to me. To somebody else, they might not be real. Your stories that make up you, they're real to you. You live them, you experience them, while others might ridicule them, might judge them and say, no, yours is not as bad as mine, so let me tell you mine, right? It's almost like we're living in a world where everybody's trying to one-up each other, whether it's with the good things or the bad things. Whereas, do you know how much more beautiful and amazing the world would be if or when everyone just allows everyone around them in their life to exist in the way that they do, and allow them to have their stories without trying to take that power away and shine a light onto themselves? It would be so much easier, but this is not necessarily the reality. Yet, it could be the reality. It really depends on who you surround yourself with. That's the other part. So, now, being your true self, your authentic self, is scary because it exposes the most raw, the most vulnerable parts of you. And the parts of you that you are usually hiding to avoid pain, to avoid rejection, to avoid judgment or potential failure. For the fear of the judgment and the fear of rejection and breaking through or breaking somebody else's expectations of you, just to name a few. I'd love to hear from you. Why do you think you have been hiding your true authentic self from people in your life? Honestly. Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to ask you to be vulnerable, to be open, because do you know what happens when you are, and when people see you for who you are? You actually realize that it's not as scary, and the fun part is that you see that you don't give a shit what other people think. But it's you who needs to stop caring. It's you who makes the judgments. It's you who ridicules yourself. Yeah, sometimes it might be other people, but those are the people that you really actually don't care about. They don't really matter on the grand scheme of things. They're not the ones that you care to hear their thoughts, their opinions, because more often than not, or actually primarily, those people are small-minded people. Because people with big minds, they think really big. And they don't see the point in petty little things. In laughing at a child that falls down when the tree breaks, or judging that child and labeling that child as stupid, or whatever labels someone might give, right? So when we open up and we put ourselves out there in front of other people, it allows us to experience a sense of freedom that you can't have any other way. And the more you hide yourself, the more fear you'll have about being found out, about someone finally seeing who you truly are. So I see there's Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Kimberly. Kimberly says, I'm a climber, I get it. So there you go. Some people actually continue to start climbing at a young age, and then they climb throughout their life, and it becomes either a fun activity or something that is an escape for them, or maybe it becomes, in a way or many ways, a career as well for people. We don't know what one little thing that we experience as a child that we really like, that it's going to be the very thing that we do when we grow up. So the other part of today's topic, I wanted to talk about something that's scarier than you being exposed, and you being your true authentic self and hiding that, not sharing it with anyone. I think the scariest thing is, I want you to imagine for a moment that you go your whole entire life trying to fit into a mold, trying to cater to everyone and to everything, and being someone for everyone, being the perfect mother for your kids, the perfect partner for your partner, perfect daughter, perfect friend. And in the midst of all that, you learn to be okay with being someone for everyone. Chameleon, right? And it's a great, let's call it characteristic, or a trait that we all have access to. But in the grand scheme of things, you are not being yourself. And imagine now you're no longer here. And everyone that knew you, none of those people know who you truly are. To me, that's scarier, much scarier, leaving this human existence and no one truly knowing who I authentically am. And part of that is the truth, because everyone will have their own perception of me, of you, of each and every one of you. Everyone will have their own interpretation of who Yana is, who Rebecca is, who Kimberly is, who Tammy is. Hey, Tammy. Tammy says, I'll catch replay. I gotta exercise. Ooh, I love that. You go get it, girl. Exercise and watch it later. And no one will truly know the full you, authentic you. But why not try? Why not be true to yourself, true to who you are, true to your beliefs, true to your values, true to everything that makes you you and makes you the human you, without, there's no nicer way of putting it, but without caring or giving a fuck about what anybody else or everybody else thinks. Just you do you and you be you. And everybody else, they They can suck it, right? They can go. They can fuck off. And the right people will come to you because they resonate with your frequency and with your vibe, with your vibration. And the wrong people won't. And it just makes it easier that way, that you're not, it's almost like you start to trust the process and the universe and yourself and the people in your life, that the right people will be there for you and the right people will show up for you, while the wrong people won't. And you don't have to spend your time and energy convincing those people that you're worthy of them and their time and their energy. And I know some of you will say this is harder with family, but initially it might be harder. Like anything that you do the first time, the first few or first 100 times you do something, it will be harder. But the more you practice not giving a flying rat's ass, the easier it will become. You will notice yourself not being quiet when you normally would be quiet. You will notice yourself speaking up when you feel it is the right time to speak up. And of course, you will continue to not speak up when it's just comes from a place of it's not even worth my time or energy, because I would much rather use that elsewhere in a different part of my life. We all have, we do forget sometimes that we have an infinite and yet a finite access to energy on any given day and time. And if we keep giving and giving and giving, and giving is not necessarily giving in a good and positive way. Giving can also be just engaging in arguments or disagreements, or giving where one thing I hear actually quite often is not being included in certain family events or certain family conversations. Sometimes there's a group chat with family and you're not part of that group chat. Right? How many of you can understand what I'm talking about? And that by you simply dwelling on that and thinking about that and thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not part of that? Well, yes, you can spend the time there, but with some of these things, do you really want to? Do you really care to be included in these chats? Yes or no? Or it could be, yes, I do want to be included. Well, why do you want to be included? And if you do want to be included in some things, then this is where you take the time to understand not what are they doing wrong, but you. Everything that happens in our life, everything we experience, if we pause and we start just looking within and see and question ourselves, how have I contributed to this rejection, to this experience? And if you're not sure, you can always ask. And more people than not will be very happy to tell you how you can fit in to their expectations. And sometimes it's actually best to do it that way, so that way you're not making things up that are not really happening, because your interpretation and your understanding of a situation sometimes can be different than the reality. And when you ask and then they tell you the feedback, you might step back and say, well, that's not something I'm willing to change about me. So you guys go ahead and do you, and I'm good here. Where other times you'd be like, oh, it's not so bad. It's just a little conversation and it kind of sorts itself. But taking a moment and pausing and asking yourself, am I okay to pretend to be someone I'm not? Or do I want to experience freedom in this lifetime? Because the freedom is not the physical one, it's the mental one. That's why I refer to the mental prison all the time, because this is what imprisons us. This is what makes us feel trapped and unhappy and miserable. It's in our minds. We live in our minds. Our mind does not shut off. It keeps going and going and going, like that Energizer Bunny commercial. That just, like, what is it? Duracell battery, right? Just keeps going and going and going. And then you end that thought, and before you even realize, there's another story that starts happening, another thought pattern, another idea that starts happening. And through practice, you can calm your mind down so there's a lot less thinking happening. It's definitely possible. But through these thinking patterns, you can understand yourself more, your true authentic self. And you can start to uncover who she is. It's scarier living life where no one ever really knew who you were and who you are. Because when people know who you truly are and you own it and they don't like it, just think back in your past. Did you really care? Did that really bother you? When you were being your true authentic self, you stuck to who you are no matter what, and people didn't like it, didn't accept it. Did you really care? Most of you probably say, no, I didn't. Use that as a reminder, as that anchor that will help you to come back to a place of being and choosing your authenticity. And it's actually a journey to uncovering who you truly are. We don't just wake up and know who we are, because it took a lifetime of losing ourselves. It took years for you to lose yourself. Now, it's going to take you less years, especially if you have someone who helps you to get there. It becomes easy peasy lemon squeezy, where you're just following the steps and you're walking up that ladder, and before you know it, you're on top of Mount Everest, where you never even had to climb and go through the dread and the pain and the suffering and the treacherous journey of going and climbing up that Mount Everest. Is that you had someone take you on a tour to walk up the stairs on Mount Everest. It's just easier. It's not easy, it's easier. And yes, you are definitely more than capable of figuring out who you are. But it takes much longer to figure that way out, instead of you taking a clear path to get to that point, to knowing who you are, because then you have all those other years to live in your authenticity and really feel whole and complete and fulfilled, and most importantly, free, and no longer being trapped in your mental prison. Now, the 3 hacks that I actually want to share with you are about manifestation. You can manifest anything you want. You just gotta figure out what it is that you want most and not overdoing it. Because sometimes we just overdo things way too much by, like, here's what I'll say. Goals. Let's talk about goals for a minute. You can have 100 goals or 10 goals, or you might be in a place where you don't even know what goals you want. And you're not there yet. And that's okay. That's definitely okay. I completely understand that. I was there once. Many women that I work with, they're also they were in that place where they didn't even know what goals they wanted. And in helping to narrow down the goals is helpful. So whether you know what your goals are, take a moment to write down 3 goals, 3 things that you want. And more often than not, they're going to be experiences of an emotional state, an emotional being, of what you believe you will feel when you achieve and have that goal, right? When you decided to become a mother, you had a goal of becoming a mother. and you had this fantasy about what that's going to feel like for you being a mother. And sometimes it's a fantasy, right? It's just a fantasy, because the reality when you are a mother is quite different. But you put that goal down and you can figure out how to get there. So now, with your goals, did you know that when you write things down, not only are you remembering them better, is that's another form of communicating with all parts of your being and the universe. That by just simply writing down your goals and rewriting your goals every single day and feeling that emotional state of each and every goal, of what you believe you will feel when you grow into your goal, because you don't achieve your goals, you grow into them. That's something that many people don't understand until they start growing into their goals, and then they see that to grow, that means that you must become someone different, whether it's a little bit different or a lot different, in order for you to achieve that goal. So you don't achieve them, you grow into them. So whatever goal that you want to grow into also means, are you going to actually enjoy that journey of reaching that goal, of growing into that goal? And that can help in identifying that if you even want that goal or not. Because if you're not going to enjoy the journey, then why bother? Pick a different goal. You got unlimited options of goals, and it doesn't have to be, I want to get my shit together, because that's very broad. It can be as little as, I want to organize my office, and I want to set it up in a way that I feel that it's magical. That goal, for some of you, might take a day. For some of you, it might take a year. Why? It's because you set it up, you organize it, but you still don't feel that magic. So you change a few things around here and there, and a little bit and little by little. And then one day you finally feel like you've achieved that goal, because now all of a sudden your office feels magical. But it took you a year to achieve that goal, and a simple goal of reorganizing or organizing or setting up my office so it feels magical. So, hack, write your goals down every single day, and by writing them down, you're putting them in the subconscious, and you will remember them easier and better, and at the same time you're communicating in a different way with the universe. And this works. I am living, breathing proof of that. Many of you are as well. And Rebecca says small and doable and a reasonable, and then the slow connection keeps blocking. It's so annoying. And the reasonable time. Yep. And then that's how we begin to create goals. We start with small goals. Yeah, start small. You don't want to jump off the cliff. If you don't know how to swim, you're not going to jump into the deep end. You're going to learn how to swim first. That's what you got to do. And if you don't like the cold, you're not going to jump in the cold water. You got to work your way up. Whatever it is that you're doing, you got to start small. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed, and you will start to believe that it's not possible and that you don't want to do it. You are going to run for the hills, and you're going to want to go and hide. And you'll say, I don't want that goal, because you in some way set yourself up for failure. So you start small. And then Rebecca says, took me 5 years to realizing my new aspirations after my spiritual awakening. There's no limit. Thank you, Rebecca. There's absolutely no limit or time limit of how long it will take someone to realize our new aspirations, our new goals, our dreams, and continue to recognize that those things will also change and evolve as we do. Some of the things that I wanted and set up as goals for myself 8 years ago are nowhere on my list now. I can't even remember what they were, because they feel so insignificant at this point. And for many of them, it's because I've already achieved them, and Some of them I realized that I achieved them, and while others I didn't realize. Okay, so now, hack number 2. Many of you use passwords, whether it's to get in your phone, whether it's to get in your email, or the numerous accounts that you have to websites, to maybe even programs or quests that you have signed up for, or maybe some kind of subscriptions or something that you sign up for. You have passwords that you use. Now, attaching your goals to this as well. Create a password out of that and make it fun and entertaining, but in a way that you will remember as well, that will help you to manifest whatever it is that you want that much quicker. And I'll give you an example. I can't remember what I'm looking at. I can't see because the light is not that great over there. But I have a book. It's an orange color because that helps, right? And there's a word in there, power. But I cannot see what the other part is written because the light is not on it. If I, had a flashlight, I'll look at it and I'll tell you what it is. If you're interested, message me and I'll let you know. But this book is the book that I learned this hack from, about passwords. And the example that he gave, and I will use his example, is that he was going through a horrible divorce and he just wanted to forgive his wife. So he decided, I'm going to use a password, I forgive my wife. Right? With interesting characters, and you gotta make it a little bit fun. And before he knew it, and I say before he knew it because he didn't even realize when that switch happened, he forgave his wife. That's manifestation, if you ask me. And I'm not going to give you my passwords because those are my passwords, but the passwords that I have used, and this is where once I achieve that goal, it's the goal and then the password attached to that goal. Once I achieve that goal, the password changes and goes to a different one. And if you have 3 goals, then you can be 3 different passwords, especially if you're using them very often. And I would recommend doing different passwords so that way it's not one password for all the different things, because when someone figures out one of your passwords, they're like, oh, I got access to all the things. Security is important. So making sure you're changing it up once in a while, and when you start using these hacks, you'll start to achieve your goals quicker and easier. It almost feels like no effort is being put in, but of course you still gotta put the effort. You still gotta take action towards the goals that you want to grow into. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. This is not just some wishful thinking. There's still, what you will simply just notice is that the things that you're putting on your to-do list will be in one way or another related to those goals, and you will notice yourself actually doing those things and no longer running away from them and being fearful of them. And then the third thing is I wrote down release control with phrases. Phrases like, the first time you wake up in the morning, what are the first thoughts that come to mind to you? What are the first things that you think of? Is it something on your to-do list? Is it how tired you are? Or is it, oh, my alarm woke me up, or I don't want to do this, or I can't, or I just want to sleep all day? What are the thoughts that come to mind to you? Because if you take a moment to identify how you start your day is how the rest of your day is going to go. That's another hack, right? How you start your day is how the rest of your day is going to go. But it's also doesn't mean that you're stuck with the foul mood. If you woke up with the foul mood, you can shift it, right? So that's why it's important to be intentional about your morning and your morning routines. So if you catch yourself, and I encourage you to catch yourself, because each and every one of you is waking up with negativity, in one phrase or another, and often it's a similar one, and it will go through the entire day. You got to rewrite those phrases. You got to change those phrases. And the one that I really like, and I'm just going to share one, and I'd love to hear from you what other ones that you can use instead, or you maybe are already using instead, and rewriting how you start your morning with what thoughts take over your mind first thing in the morning is, I am excited for what today will bring. Just starting off with, I'm excited for what today will bring. And can you imagine what the day ends up bringing to me that proves this truth to me, that I am excited and I'm excited for today, waking up every morning being excited for what today brings? Because you did that. That's why I started in the beginning talking about when you were a child, you woke up every day feeling excited for the adventure that you called life. Every single thing was new and exciting to you. And then it just get the same and boring. So you gotta change things up. You got to allow the universe to surprise you. Or you could say, the universe, I cannot wait for the amazing surprises that you have in store for me for today. And it will surprise you time and time again, over and over, and with new things, with similar things that feel new as you once did when you were a child, because that was your programming until you got reprogrammed. But now that you're conscious and you're aware and you're awakening to your reality, to your truth, to your programming, you can change that shit. You can rewrite it in any way that you want. Each and every one of us is a bunch of different programs that we run on unconsciously, 95% of every single day. And if you don't like how your days go, change that programming. And yes, these hacks work, they're great, but they're in many ways temporary fixes because they don't get to the root of the problem, to the root of the stories, to the root of the programming that you're carrying that makes you you. But when you start to get to the root, and it's like, oh my God, this suddenly makes sense. And you will find that after enough of this digging up the programming in light ways, where you're not being shattered each time you dig up a program. Initially, when you start the awakening process, yes, you will find yourself feeling shattered because your reality is being shattered. It's being questioned, and everything as you once knew is no longer that way. So of course you're going to feel a lot. I used to cry every single day. I used to sleep all day long because I just couldn't believe that this was my reality. And what's even scarier is that I was a contributing factor. And I believed that there was nothing I can do about it. And it was just easier to escape my reality by sleeping or by getting stoned instead of dealing with the actual problem. And until I chose and decided to get my shit together, and one little area here, and one little area here, and this area and that area, and all of those areas were understanding me, that everything started to change and transform. All my reality became the reality that I actually wanted, and I love, and I'm excited to be part of this reality, that I no longer want to leave this existence. Absolutely not. I want to live to 200 if possible, because there's always something new and exciting that happens. And then in changing myself and my reality, my relationships changed, right? I let go of toxicity, and I only had amazing relationships left after that. So that's where I would end. I can't think of anything else to share with you all. Some of you have already actually scheduled your appointments or your calls to see what the Imposter Banishing Quest is all about, and I'm excited to have those calls with you all. And the rest of you, if you are interested, everything that I talk about, everything that I mention is practically being packaged all together in ways that you will not see or hear me talk publicly, because a lot of these tools, a lot of these techniques are not allowed to be shared publicly, for one. And two, I've invested a great deal of money, time, and most importantly, energy into learning and understanding and then practicing. That those are the things that are packaged in this imposter banishing quest. So everything that you hear me talk about, it, like I like to say, it doesn't even scratch the surface, yet it scratches. It helps you to tame the itch, but it doesn't get to the root. Not all the way, because there's more to it than that. There's always more to any one of us than what we see on the outside or what we hear on the outside. So that is all. And until we see each other next Tuesday at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time ish. And the ish is because based on when the sacred circle is done, I hop right on here, even if I have to go to the bathroom. I hold it so that way I'm here as quickly as I can right after the sacred circle. Some of you ladies already know that. And or I'll see you tomorrow live for our Heal the Unicorn podcast, where Bethany and I go live in our Facebook group called Heal the Unicorn Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. I've been talking a lot and trying to say things as fast as I can, so now I'm like out of breath and out of wind. So I'm going to go and refuel myself for the remainder of my afternoon with all of my calls and events. And until we see each other next time, have an amazing rest of your day. Bye. And thank you all for being on here live or on replay. And especially to those of you who participate and chat, and those of you who are silent watchers. I see you. I hear you. I am you. Until we see each other next time, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, ladies.